Alright, hello everyone. My name is Disc, and this is a 21 Halls of Atonement. For this week, we are still Tyrannical, Bursting, and Volcanic. So it's been a really fun week. This is the last day of our cycle, and Priests and Discipline especially are just so powerful this week because we have Mass Dispel. This completely negates that affix, and is so fun, and it's just a really fun play this week. The only downside to using Mass Dispel so much is it's our most expensive spell in the book, but that's okay. This was a pretty good run, but there was one area in the middle where we had a hiccup. Thankfully, it was not a full wipe, and we were able to recover and regain some time there.
2, 1.
And we're about to get going here. So off the bat, I'm thinking Warrior is a good target for PI. His cooldown window is 10 seconds long, so in a perfect scenario, I would PI him before he Qs his spell. Demon Hunters are good for single target too. So for this opener, I go ahead and dot everyone because we're trying to pad for the Thrash, also watching out for the deadly thrusts. I get into a boon, blast, dispel, blast. And thankfully, those little ads were pulled and my Ascended Eruption was able to hit them. Refresh my dots. And for this Thrash, I'm going to recover with a Shadow Fiend and Schism. Mindseer for the win. Oftentimes, Mass Dispel will miss one of your allies. It's always good to quickly throw them a single Dispel. And we have about 10 seconds to wait on Boon, so I'm just killing time. Open with dots. I like to Boon just with 2 or 3 Atonements out usually. And this is a Nova Nova Blast pattern. If the group were a little bigger, possibly straight Novas, but it takes a lot to have more damage from just Novas. The blast on a Schism can hit pretty hard. Redirected that kite a little bit with a grip. Always mind soothe these Stoneborns. It's best that we don't pull them into combat until we're ready for them. I go ahead and PI our Warrior. The Shard pull coming up ahead of us is more dangerous, but it's not a fortified week, so no reason not to just get PI rolling now. This is a big pull. I use Pain Sep just to refresh my dots. And I am holding Boon here. Came up mid-pull. I definitely want to use that for the Shard. Good healing, it's mana free. Gave a feather to our Demon Hunter who jumped right over it. It's unbelievable. And here's our shard. So I try and target and attack him first. That places the spectrometer on him. I will dot the group. Spread the 4th dot with a penance. Dispel that siphon life first so that I can boon without any interruptions. And this is Nova Nova Blast. So for this one I Shadow Fiend, trail in my Schism 2nd. So the vocals of these tormentors have always broken a drink. I don't know why the developers weren't able to fix that. But open with all my dots, and on the first terror, looks like I went into a rapture. Yeah, I just used that as a filler spell because I did want to get into boon here. Especially while we have a couple adds up. Boon is just about the only way to heal through this guy effectively. And with those burstings we had there at the end, we definitely wanted boon. Crit buff. And we definitely want a boon here, but it has a couple seconds to wait. So I'm just starting with some dots. Trail in a pain sup now to allow me to atone the group before I lead into boon. Cast Fade there, we had some aggro. There are a lot of frontals in here, so you have to keep an eye on the position of your tank so that you're not standing in the way of those frontals. Party nameplates are the best way to do that. And you see our group is just getting picked off one by one here. All those frontals. Barrier to recover. Yeah, a pull like this, the way I would analyze it is we needed all 5 of us available, and I believe some cooldowns were even lost by deaths. We really got put in a bind there because everyone was standing in the frontals that are one-shotting them, and as a partial party, we were just outmatched a little bit. But thankfully we were near the front of the dungeon, and I just healed the best I could, and we were able to just chain that pull. It was like 3 or 4 deaths, I think. Not me. Holy Nova, the chains. I always try to get my main offensive spells rolling before I refresh a dot. Also like to Shadow Fiend him too. I'll Shadow Fiend and Schism. It's really good healing, helps the DPS on the single target. Keeping a Mind Soothe on that Stoneborn. We don't want him to actually engage before we want him. And we have Boon here, we have PI. That's really all we need. So to maximize that PI, I gave it to the warrior before he popped. And I will Blast, Dispel, Blast, and stick to a Nova Nova Blast pattern. I wish we had gotten those other little guys. And I don't want to use a cooldown there. Combat's about over. So I opt for Schism. I don't even think it was a full thrash. And for these guys, they have the frontals, deadly thrust. So I just stand far away, focus my spectrometer, and Schism and Sear. Just Sear as much as you can. Between 4 dots, Schism and Sear, that's a pretty decent amount of heals flooding our tank. So you don't really need to Shadow Mend or Penance or Solace. Mind Sear will get you more DPS on a 4-pull like that. Important to drink right here. And this is a Boon pull. So I'm going to get all 5 dots out, spread the final dot with a Penance off my spectrometer, reatone the tank, Schism, Boon, Nova Nova Blast. Only refresh the dots on the healthiest targets and Sear. Try and use Solace or Penance when you're stepping out of the way of a volcano. It's one way to maximize your efficiency. And you really gotta drink in these moments because as soon as the Stoneborns engage, you'll be entered into combat. I fade. I just don't want to be targeted at all. Penance is a really cheap defensive heal. Tank Paladin is going for the pull. And I grip him over. So for a single target boss like this, PI is going to our Demon Hunter. He has a really long window. And I'm watching for his meta. So this boss doesn't really challenge people too much. It can go wrong if you're not paying attention, but the best thing you can do as a Discipline Priest is just push as much DPS here as you can. So open with a Schism and Boon just to get the cooldown rolling. Keeping a few people atoned, trying to maximize our DPS. Also staying opposite of the tank behind the boss. We don't want to be slammed. And holding Schism for after the first dance phase. Reatone the tank, refresh dots, Shadow Fiend, and Schism. Man, I keep doing that. I meant to Schism sooner to buff my Fiend, but I do that more than I'd like. Fiend didn't get full value of the Schism. Only like 3 seconds instead of 9. So it's a little tricky, but you can fade and mind soothe a couple of these guys, quickly mount, sneak by and no one sees you, save a pot. And looking at our available cooldowns, it looks like our warrior is the only one who's going to be available. So I believe we both hold for when the ads come out. That's where we want our cooldown. So that wasn't good. That leap is supposed to be dodged. It's 100% avoidable and it hit 2 people. I think it was just a mistake. The rest of our leaps were better. But we have one decurse in the group who needs to see who the leap is on and decurse them so that they don't get frozen and can walk out of the way of the attack. I always try and feather the person before I'm frozen to help them dodge that attack. I just click on their tune. And now, since no one else is in a cooldown window, I'll use my first boon. I think I lagged there a little bit. And for this leap, the Dispel was missed, which had our Demon Hunter slammed on. Have to dedicate a little bit of heals to him just to keep him alive. And for this round, I'll just Seer to get the ads down a little quicker. And in watching this back, I learned something here, that even if you yourself are not decursed, you can still spam grip and pull someone to safety right at the last second. So I'm going to have to test that more. Tossed a feather to the target. And he dodged. Good job. You have about 1 second or less to dodge that. Once the boss jumps off the ground, you have until he lands to move. And this is what I notice. I'm the only ranged in the group, so I'm gonna bait this mechanic. I would have liked Fiend here, but used it on the boss, so I kind of just have to manually heal through it. I preemptively feather and run away immediately. Radiance and Schism just to finish this guy off.
Well thought. Now claim its power as your own.
Feather the tank so he can go rally everybody. And usually you do a circle. I was trying to get ahead of him, but he went that way. I did intercept with that grip though. This is a boon and PI pull. I want to stay LOS and off aggro tables, so fade. Go ahead and give the warrior PI early. Get a few dots and atonements out, schism, and boon. I do a Nova blast pattern here because we do need the healing. The Novas aren't that much healing. The healing comes from the blasts. Just re-getting my dots out. And this is tough because the warrior has aggro. I'm trying to heal everybody, but Shadowman can only go one direction.
My mana is nearly gone.
And I go for a quick drink. Aleez come in for the res. Yeah, I think PI on the warrior, he just pulled threat and Paladin couldn't take it back. I gave him a lot of direct healing, but he had aggro for too long. You can soothe this entire room just to sneak by. And like the last boss, this one isn't too hard. There's not a lot of healing required. Just focus on DPS. So as an opener, we will Schism and Boon, but I'm waiting just a couple seconds on my Soul-Letting Ruby. And PIs on our Demon Hunter for the single target. Ruby, Schism, Boon, Nova Blast. You can hit these little ghosts and it will help your return. And we have Schism again, so we are going to Shadow Fiend and Schism. Don't really want to break from DPS in that 9-second Schism window. You want to use Solace, Penance, Mind Blast, Death, and as many smites as you can get in. Whenever you can, atone with a Shadow Mend followed by a shield. Shadow Mend atones on the back end of the cast, and shield atones on the front end of the cast. So you get 2 atonements in the same global. It's objectively more healing. And here's where we noticed we are doing fine on time and a full melee group. So we decide to backtrack for Oros. We want to make our final boss a little safer. And I think this is where our warrior drops his CD. Being that he's my main PI target, this is a group comp where you don't hold CDs. Even though it's single target, we would get full value of both and speed this fight up. And the reason I say he holds here is because he holds in the next room too. So we lost 1 round of his avatar and 1 round of my PI. However, I am holding Boon because I want to use that in the next room, and the return on single target is not good enough to have it twice more. Get a couple dots out and just cast a Seer off of our tank. You always want to try to kill the inactive ones. They will add mobs to the fight and heal the named mob. Trying to get as many dots out as I can, but I'm holding Boon until the final cast of the heal. And the best thing to do at that point is schism the named mob and Boon him, but I think I made an error here and I schismed a little guy. Lost probably half of the schism. I lost 2 seconds. It would have been better on the Inquisitioner. Yeah, and it's picky, but the warrior definitely made a mistake by holding on Oros. If he wanted to hold this room to have his cooldown on the boss, that's fine, but we needed to use our 1 more round of cooldowns on Oros for the both of us, and I wasn't going to PI him if he wasn't going to pop his spell. With dungeons being timed, it's very rare that you ever want to hold a spell, especially when it's less than a 2-minute cooldown. We have to get through them quickly, and downtime and uptime are things you need to monitor. And for boss, PI goes to Demon Hunter, so warrior just completely lost an opportunity to get my PI because he held. So this boss really isn't too hard, but compared to the others, it does require you to heal. So it's this phase right here. We only get 2 of them, so the way it lines up is Boon is first. I want to delay atoning my group so that Boon will cover the whole attack. And we have Nova Blast. I don't bother to break from Boon to reatone everyone because the attack was over and it wasn't necessary. Also important to note, big ramps like that where you need coverage, don't lead with a Radiance for your atonement. You need to lead with your longer, regular atonements from Shield or Shadowmend. The atonement from a Radiance is 60% value. 60% value in duration, I mean. Shadow Fiend, Schism, and just our main rotation of spells as much as we can. weave in 1 or 2 atonements in between. Always have to keep an eye on those statues. And just for fun, looks like I PR'd our tank. He probably doesn't get that too often, and no one else has a cooldown window. We're not pressed for time. I thought he might appreciate it for the lulz. And didn't really even need it here, but on Tyrannical especially, that tank dot can hurt pretty bad, and Pain Sup is a great way to mitigate one of them. And yeah, that was a Halls of Atonement 21. If you look at the meters, I'm lowest on the avoidable damage. That's always where you want to be, and right under 4k DPS, which is also pretty good. So I've really been enjoying these videos, and I appreciate all your feedback so far. I've been having a lot of fun doing it and plan to make more, especially moving into 9.2. If you have any requests or anything you'd like to see or talk about, please let me know. And until next time, guys, Disc out.